everyone, welcome to another edition of My True Crime Obsession. I'm here today to discuss my review of Quentin Tarantino's new film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Definitely an interesting film, to say the least. Director Quentin Tarantino spent 5 years working on the screenplay for this film, and he put his heart into it. He considers it his love letter to Hollywood, 1960s Hollywood. And if you know nothing about the film, it takes place in the year 1969, and it talks about significant events that took place during that year. One event of which is, obviously, the Manson murders, which is featured prominently, Charles Manson, his followers, Sharon Tate, and the victims in the film. I have to say that one of the things that truly impressed me about Quentin Tarantino was how much time and effort he put into doing research into this film. The cinematography is amazing. You're watching the film, and he really does take you back to the year 1969 and what Hollywood looked like at that time. Just different landmarks. Some of the landmarks that were featured in the film: Playboy Mansion, some restaurants that existed back in 1969 still exist today. In fact, one of the film locations was at El Coyote Mexican restaurant, which is the last place where Sharon Tate and the other victims ate the night before, the night of, that they were murdered. And as I'm watching the film, I'm like, wow, this is the actual restaurant. I've been in the restaurant. And he actually filmed in the restaurant, and he filmed the characters in the seats, in the booth, where Sharon Tate, Jay Sebring, Abigail Folger, Wojtek Frykowski actually ate. So I found that very impressive. He really captures the essence of Hollywood back in that time period. Some other landmarks, Spahn Ranch. While it wasn't filmed at Spahn Ranch, the way in which Quentin Tarantino recreated Spahn Ranch was just simply amazing. Just the little details. I mean, he really got it right. He did happen also to film on Cielo Drive. While the houses were not the same, and they were reconstructions of the houses that existed at that time, he did film parts of the movie on the actual road that Sharon Tate and the others lived on. So I found that very interesting. Before filming had begun, I know that Quentin Tarantino had actually met with Deborah Tate, Sharon's sister, to get her take on it and just to get some research and background information. And not that he was seeking her approval, but she did go over the script with him, and once she found out what the movie was going to be about and how Quentin Tarantino was going to portray it, she fully supported him. And I have to say that Margot Robbie, who starred as Sharon Tate, did an amazing job. She really captured the essence of Sharon. And an interesting side note, Deborah Tate actually gave Margot Robbie some of Sharon Tate's jewelry to wear during the filming of the movie. So I found that interesting as well. And it really captures who Sharon was. If you're a Sharon Tate fan and you watch the movie carefully, there are little things from her life, things that made Sharon who she was in the film, and references to her friends, things that maybe most people wouldn't know about. One of the things I found really interesting was there was a couple of references made to Christopher Jones. And for those of you that don't know who Christopher Jones is, he was a very close friend of Sharon's back in the 1960s. He was a film actor. And after he found out how Sharon died and that she was murdered at the hands of the Manson family, he basically went into seclusion, and he dropped out of Hollywood. He ended his film career. He was totally devastated. He went into therapy. He just was never the same again. And I found it really great that Quentin Tarantino was able to work that into the film, work his name into the film. Most people probably didn't pick up on it, but if you're a fan of Sharon Tate and you know anything about her life, that was one of the things that I picked up on. I was like, wow, he did a really good job researching Sharon Tate and her background. Another thing was there was a scene, and without giving away too much, plot points in the movie, she did go into a bookstore in Hollywood and she did buy Tess of Durbanvilles, which is a novel by Thomas Hardy. That book was actually on her bedside table the night that she was murdered, and she had a note in it for Roman Polanski, who was away in Europe at the time. Roman, this would make a really good film. You should really consider it. And in fact, years later, Roman Polanski actually did make a movie called Tess, and he dedicated it at the end to his wife, Sharon. So that was in the film. And I kudos to Quentin Tarantino for the little details that he really captured and really researched, and was able to integrate that into the film. I thought it was fantastic. Just some other things that I found interesting was that one of the things I wanted to talk about was that he included real film footage of the wrecking crew. So you do see Sharon Tate in the movie, the real Sharon Tate. I just thought, he did a really good job with that. He also, with some of the characters, one of the characters was a character by the name of Marvin Schwartz. It was portrayed by Al Pacino, and I immediately picked up on the last name because there is a real-life person named Johnny Schwartz who was a member of the Manson family, an outside member, peripheral member of the Manson family. He hung out with the Manson family from time to time at Spahn Ranch. He actually got arrested at Spahn Ranch. But it's an interesting side note is that the car that was used to go to Cielo Drive on the night of the murders was the car, a Ford, 1959 Ford, that belonged to Johnny Schwartz. So when I looked at this and I'm watching the film and I'm hearing, Al Pacino's last name, Schwartz, I was like, yeah, that's not a coincidence. I have a feeling that Quentin Tarantino, purposely named Al Pacino's character after Johnny Schwartz and kind of, stuck that in there for anybody that is follows this case and is familiar with this case. I will say that Quentin Tarantino did take a lot of artistic liberties in the film. The ending, without giving it away, was a total surprise to me. And at first I was very disappointed, but now that I've had some time to sit with it and think about it, I'm like, it was, it was interesting. It's not what I expected. Quentin Tarantino sometimes puts his own spin on history. If you've seen his movie Inglourious Bastards, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. With the movie theater full of Nazis, and Quentin Tarantino's characters wind up, killing all the Nazis in the movie theater. Unfortunately, that did not happen, and it's a shame because, it would have been nice to, at least, have those Nazis die, as they certainly deserved it. I don't want to give too much away about the ending. It was definitely different. It's not what I expected. I was a little disappointed, but I think that audiences would certainly be entertained. A lot of people were laughing. I would suggest go seeing the film. It was really good. Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio, they just worked so well together. I mean, it was just ebb and flow between their characters. And my understanding is that Quentin Tarantino is already in the process of making another film and having those two star again. They were fantastic together. A lot of people in Hollywood, a lot of film critics are like, oh, this is going to be the next thing. It came out 25 years after Pulp Fiction, and Pulp Fiction just blew audiences away. I mean, Pulp Fiction was really one of the greatest movies made by Quentin Tarantino and really left its mark on Hollywood. And I think that everybody hyped this movie up to be as great as Pulp Fiction. I will say this. No, it's not. Okay? It's a good movie. And certainly, it just doesn't stand up to Pulp Fiction, and it never will. But it's a good movie. It's definitely entertaining, and like I said, the ending is definitely Quentin Tarantino. But given the historical information I know about the Manson murders and how they went down, I guess I'm a little more critical than the average viewer. I guess if I had to give it stars out of 4 stars, I'd probably give it 2.5 stars. So it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't all that great. But it was entertaining. So that's my take on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Please, if you've seen the movie, please feel free to comment and share your thoughts, questions, I hope to check back. Actually, I will be checking back in with sometime within the next week, because I am headed out to LA. There's a lot of events going on for the 50th anniversary of the Manson murders, and I will be there. I will be meeting with Scott Michaels, who does a lot of work on behalf of crime victims' rights and Sharon Tate, and he does do a couple of tours out there, and he in fact did work with Quentin Tarantino on the film, so I am looking forward to meeting Scott, going on some of the tours. I will be at El Coyote Grill on the night of August 8th, just as Sharon Tate was there on the night of August 8th. There will be a special guest there. I don't know who that is yet. I would love it if it was Quentin Tarantino, but I'm kind of reaching there. Highly unlikely. But anyway, so please keep watching. Thank you for your support, and I will be checking in again sometime within the next week. And take care, everybody. Have a great day. Bye.